Hello, and welcome to the review of Champions. I am your host, Grandmaster. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 started a year where Marvel Studios released five movies in a row in 1 year. It would end with the release of Avengers Infinity War a year later, with Spider Man Homecoming for Ragnarok and Black Panther in between. Uh, it's not a bold claim to state that a release slate like this in a franchise within 1 year never happened before and will never happen again, not in sheer amount and not in quality. It got the whole world hyped up for the finale of the Infinity Saga. For me personally, I can't recall wanting to see an MCU movie more than Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. The first one was Lightning in a Bottle, a near perfect movie. Cast, acting, dialogue, score, soundtrack, visuals, action. There was not much wrong with that movie. So I was highly anticipating the sequel. And I remember it was a news item that early test showings showed tens across the board from the test audience. So, did the movie live up to the preceding expectations? Well, let's find out. I'm not going to find it out alone. I have a panel of champions here, and let me introduce them to you first. First up, we have the original, Mr. Taylor first. How are you?
I am excellent.
It's good to hear. We have Merv. How are you?
I'm fantastic.
Hmm? And last but certainly not least, we have the grand old lady of the podcast of champions, voice only, Loki's mom. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Yeah. I hope you're not offended that I call you an old lady.
Well, that's the truth. But you
Yeah.
also add grand in there, so that makes it okay.
Yeah, absolutely. We love you, Loki's mom. We love you.
Thank you.
Okay, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Murph, were you excited to see this movie before it came out? And did it live up to your expectations?
Yes and yes. I mean, the first film, like you say, was Lightning in a Bottle, and I would say that this is Thunder in a Jar or something like that. It was, yeah, it's a really solid follow up. I rewatched it this week, and I started thinking, like, outside of like Winter Soldier, is this the best sequel within the MCU? And I think there's a case to be made that it might be. You know, but that's for smarter people than me to decide.
Well, it's better than the Dark World and Iron Man 2. For
Agreed.
sure.
Up to this point in our MCU rewatch, I would say it probably is outside of the Winter Soldier. Um, but yeah, it's a great movie. It's a great follow up. It continues to explore these characters that we know and love. I think Ego's a great villain. I love Kurt Russell in the role, and then it's just really good. It's really fun. The music and the visuals are all on point from what the first film gave us. It's just more of the same delicious slice of pizza.
Loki's mom, do you agree with Murph?
Yeah, absolutely. The first Guardians of the Galaxy, like you said, it was special. It had really those characters had never been explored in that I know of as far as movies and TV, but then they really just hit it spot on with the first movie. And it's hard for sequels to follow up on the prime, but I think in this case it probably did. I think the I actually like the volume two better. Not that I don't like it just as well, but maybe just a tad better than or a tad more than the volume one.
Okay, yeah, fair. I mean, I will give my opinion a little bit later, but Taylor, people say it's on par with Guardians of One. Do you agree with that take? Or let's just say a lot of people said it disappointed a little bit compared to the first one.
Nope, I think it's actually better than the first one.
Oh,
And the first one is spectacular, but this one is, I think, just a little bit better.
okay. So you all guys all agreed with like this is just the first one was great. Yes, this is going to be amazing. The first trailer with the Fox on the Run song from the suite underneath was amazing, and then the movie came out and it was yeah spot on. Taylor.
Yep, I
Okay.
agree.
Yeah. Well, uh, I also agree. Actually, I think but it's not the same kind of movie to me. Um, the first one was a lightning in a bottle. There was nothing wrong with it. When I saw it, I was in awe, and I couldn't wait to own the DVD, which I didn't need to replace it yet. I am very taking good care of it. Um, the second one hit me on a different level. Where the first one was like, getting the team together. Now, in the second one, James Gunn started to explore all the relationships within the team, but also the characters surrounding the team, like Yondu and Nebula, which who were not really part of the team at the time, but like adjacent, and the relationships they have with the different characters. And I really thought he delivered a masterpiece when it comes to exploring those relationships. And uh, on a different, in a different way, it's just as good, or I could even agree with Taylor, it's better. So, well, we're all aligned here. But Lokismom, do you have any real criticisms of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2?
Um, Not a huge amount. I know there was like a few scenes that I thought got drawn out just a little bit, but a little corny maybe, but particularly with Groot. But other than that, I mean, it fits the character, and I mean, they had to bring in that Groot's very much a part of this story, and he's just a sapling now and regrowing. And um, I thought, as far as criticisms go, that's probably about it. Um, as far as the pluses go, I'm going to say Kurt Russell's the heart and soul of this. As God, as ego, as he
Mm-hmm.
should be, and he really embodies that character. I thought real well. Of course, they helped him with the godlike makeup and everything, and but his bearing and everything, and just um, and his place in Americana itself, I think, really worked real well in this particular character. Um, yeah, that's as far as the pluses. I mean, the other things that, although I may touch on them in a second round if you want me to, is more maybe about the themes and a lot
Mm-hmm.
of the things that I caught from just on my. This is the third time I've seen the movie, so just some things that I picked up on. Just
Yeah.
and
Oh,
Marvel's so great at, because these movies, they're so rich that you can go back and find something new with each viewing.
yeah, I agree. We'll circle back to that later. I already mentioned what I saw in this movie when it comes to themes. But Taylor, I know you are a positive guy. So, do you have criticisms of the movie? Because if the first one was so great and this one is even better, I cannot imagine there's any criticisms coming from you.
Nope.
Okay, well, what fair? What were your particular highlights in this movie?
Well, you can't go wrong with Kurt Russell. I mean, the guy is a national treasure, and he did a great job. Everything in this movie, from the opening credits with the music and the battle happening behind Baby Groot,
Mhm.
to the development of Quill's character, his whole arc, the furtherance of it with his mother, and of course the Kurt Russell. Not just because he's Kurt Russell, but because he was a great character and a great villain in this movie. Extremely powerful, had a totally diabolical plan, and yet he was able not. It wasn't just pure strength. He was a trickster. He was able to trick Quill into joining him, for a while. Again, just a great character, and he played it so perfectly. He was charming. He was kind. Apparently, the introduction, the Ego's world, the visuals were fantastic. Something new, something spectacular, something we haven't seen. And then at the same time, there are all these other parallels going on, side stories that were continuing the entire arc. The story with the Ravagers and Yondu, and why he was an outcast with the Ravagers, and the introduction of the uh, Sovereign,
Mhm.
and the mutiny, and Yondu being overthrown and locked up. And one of
Mhm.
my favorite scenes in the whole movie is Yondu and Rocket's escape from the Ravagers, with the music playing from Jay and the Americans. and it was just a beautiful scene, beautifully shot scene, and just it was just fun. You just almost a stand up and cheer moment. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Most important character in the history of the MCU, of course, is Taserface, and he had his spectacular death scene in this movie.
Well, if I may, if I have any criticism of this movie, it's the taser face joke. After a certain moment, I have heard it, and let it go.
It's
Uh,
metaphorical.
okay.
Uh, and of course, now you made me lose my train of thought.
Oh, sorry.
But also, the introduction of Mantis, who, of course, becomes one of the best characters, becomes a
Hmm.
guardian of the galaxy, of course, and just becomes a great character all around who is
Hmm.
just always a joy. The relationship, as you mentioned, relationships, the relationship between Nebula and Gamora, we saw a lot there, a lot of development. Gamora herself becoming really a member of the Guardians of the Galaxy happens in this movie. So it's really a very big building movie as well as a great self-contained story uh,
Hmm.
by its own self. It's I think it just hits home runs the whole way.
No, fair. Murph, I can always count on you to find criticisms where others won't or don't want to. So I'm going to you now.
I didn't
I will feel the pressure.
I didn't know my reputation as a highly critical person was preceding me, but I do have a few. Namely, and they're not major. They're I've already said that I love this movie, but Baby Groot is what he is. He's cute at times, but sometimes it can be okay. We don't. It's a little much. Mostly when he's aggressive. There's just you can't do both. You can't be super adorable and highly aggressive and effective in combat. Like it just feels weird sometimes.
Mm.
The other one I'll say again, most of the time it works, but when it doesn't, it feels off and a little eye rolly. But Drax, Drax kind of becomes like a punchline to his own character in the first film a little bit at times in this, and most of
Mm.
the time it works. And I thought they balanced it up pretty well with some emotional scenes with Mantis and things like that. But there's a few times where it's like, okay, it's almost too stupid to to be funny.
Mhm.
And the only other one, and it's incredibly minor, but the post credit scene with like the comic book original team or whatever with Sylvester Stallone as Starhawk and all those characters
Mhm.
that we kind of meet in this movie. Um, I know they come back in Volume 3, but like it almost feels like they're going to be a bigger deal in that scene. Like they're going to have a story
Mhm.
of their own, or something is going to happen. And obviously, flash forward a decade, and they're pretty much background characters in Volume 3. I mean, not much major happens with any of them. I
Mhm.
couldn't even tell you half of their names, but so that kind of feels like either a missed opportunity or just a door that went nowhere or something like that. But that kind of stands out as like, oh yeah, and it's not alone. A lot there's a in the following movies, there's going to be quite a few like post credit scenes that kind of go nowhere or go nowhere yet. Maybe someday they'll get to it, but
Well,
I
we at
doubt.
least know the Guardians go eventually to nowhere.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it's a
but
good
yeah,
place.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, like I said, the taser face joke it gets old at a certain moment, and yeah, I kind of have to agree with Merv when it comes to Drax. I mean, sometimes he's just laughing, and it isn't as funny as even Drax should find it funny. You know
yeah.
what I mean? And yeah, and yeah, and at a certain moment we know that he doesn't really find Mantis appealing. You know,
She's
and those
beautiful on
jokes
the
are
inside.
funny, but you don't have to repeat them 4 times because then they get a little bit annoying. And that's the only criticism I have with this movie, that the jokes sometimes they carry them on too long, and maybe that's also part of the joke that they carry on. But we'll see. Okay, um, let's talk batteries because Rocket steals some. Peter Quill becomes a battery at a certain moment, but it's a bridge for me to talk about relationships. And Rocket and Peter Quill have, of course, important relationships in this movie. Let's start with Rocket and Yondu and Peter Quill. They're connected. um, Taylor, um, what did you think of the whole Ego, Yondu, Peter Quill's relationship? How they did that, and even they threw in a David Hasselhoff cameo in there. Uh, I thought they really managed to, show that being a father doesn't always mean that you're blood related.
I
And
think it was done really well.
yeah,
Um, for one thing, it shows it continued the previous story of how did Quill survive touching an Infinity Stone. Well, now we know that his father is a celestial or whatever
yeah,
they're called. Ego, the living planet, is. So it was part of that, and then of course finding out that of course he had a relationship with his mother, and then as they peel the onions away, finding out he never really cared about her. He was using her just like he had used countless other women on other planets and killed
hmm,
them or discarded them, and or discarded his other children as it happened. So this guy is biologically his father, but obviously he is not a good father and he is not a good dad. And luckily, Quill was raised by someone who is not the easiest to get along to in Yandu, but he was a much better did a much better job of raising Quill than this guy ever would
hmm,
have. Of course, this other guy who was just out for
protecting
his own
them.
power, his own
Hmm.
conquest, and was using Quill and anyone else he had
Yeah.
to do it. So I think there's again exploring those relationships and what makes Quill who he is from all sides, his mother, his biological father, and Yandu, who raised him, as well as his friends that he has teamed up with now. They all contribute to Quill's development
Hmm.
and his friendships. And of course, his love with Gamora gets developed quite a bit in this movie as well. That line continues. So it all I like it's the Guardians of the Galaxy, and all the characters have interesting stories, and they all have arcs to one degree or another throughout the trilogy. But Quill and to a slightly lesser extent, at least at this point, Rocket are really the heart and soul of it. Everything kind of revolves around them.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, Loki's mom. There's also a beautiful, beautiful. I don't know if it's a beautiful exploration of a relationship, but at least Gamora and Nebula also have a very complicated history with, of course, their stepfather,
Hmm.
Thanos, and
Hmm.
everything. Um, how do you think James Gunn wrote that relationship and explored that relationship?
Well, I think he did real well. I was really moved by the final scenes where the sisters are fighting each other and coming together, and then forgiving each other all in the space of just 15 minutes or whatever it is.
Hmm.
And I thought it was done real well. They had to, he put a lot in there. Compressed relationships real fast. Yeah, I thought it was well done. Certainly, Nebula understood that Gamora had, she was trapped too. She was trying to survive too, and maybe she didn't
Hmm.
realize that it was the torture that Nebula was going through, at the hands of Thanos. But and there's another father and child relationship or children relationship that will be explored later. So maybe this story is a bit of a foreshadowing of that of Thanos, because he's certainly mentioned a few times in this movie. I think talking about the family relationships are really. I thought James Gunn really did was very bold with his script here, because in the MCU they borrow a lot from myth, from ancient myth, and old stories and legends and whatnot. And of course, if those myths aren't sacred now, they once were to people and
Hmm.
had a lot of meaning, and this is how they viewed themselves and their world. But I think with Ego, he's really gotten close to what we would in the West, in the Abrahamic faith, see as God or Allah or Yahweh or whatever name you
Hmm.
want to give to him, Adonai. I think he very comes close to that, because and I'll get a little pedantic here. Um, yeah, that was a huge issue. I think even 2,000 years ago, what philosophers and theologians were trying to explore, because how could this these great good particularly with Yahweh or Allah or however, who are supposed to be perfect and all loving and all, yet at the same time is such a destroyer, is so willing to
Hmm.
destroy so much of his creation. So I think he really got close to that theme without actually saying the words, but I think that's what he was going for. So I
Hmm.
really got a lot out of that and appreciated that he did do that. Yeah, the other relationships, I think Yandu certainly with his relationship, because we saw a little bit of it in at the end of Volume 1, because he when he has to give him over the Infinity Stone, and of course Yandu has to save face in front of his men, so he knows Peter Quill's not going to give it to him. And then we see in that last scene, he sees the troll doll and he smiles, and and then you can see that, yeah, he loves Peter Quill. We know that now. And then so for at least they get to acknowledge each other's love and affection for each other, despite all the tribulations that they went through, that Peter had to
Hmm.
go through being abducted. And he was I mean, when you think about it, he's been abducted, and now he's has a great affection for the man who kidnapped him. I mean, it's kind of twisted if you sort of think about it, but yet I think in this particular case, it's heartwarming. So hats off to James Gunn for making that work too. Yeah, it's just to me that was a lot of things that I found in it, and I don't want to take up too much more time, but yeah, I think those were the biggest thing that I got from this particular movie, and why I'm going to rate it higher than I probably did the other, if not equally.
Hmm. Well, let's talk about my favorite character in the whole MCU. I think the character that has the best arc, which is starting to bloom in this movie, and it's Rocket. And Rocket and Yondu have quite a few conversations about who they are and why they are so much alike. And it gives us a first peek into Rocket's complicated history, his tragic history. And yeah, what do you think of that? Of those scenes between Rocket and Yondu?
Yeah, I thought it was great. And I think it's a little, maybe it's a little bit jarring initially because, in hindsight, after Volume 3, knowing the backstory, knowing more about Rocket from that movie, and then rewatching this one, it all clicks even better than it ever did. But like at the beginning of this, it's a little jarring as to like why he is being such a jerk. Like what is your problem? Like why is he? And it's obvious that like he's going through some things and stuff like that. But I don't think it's until you get his origin that you really feel the weight of it. And you add that to the fact that I mean his best friend in the first film is dead, and the only piece of that that's still alive is Baby Groot. So obviously he's super protective of that. But even then, it's like he's pushing people away because he doesn't want the heartbreak again. And I thought it was great, over the course of this film that like by the end of it, he actually has to like kind of betray his friends and like he has to shoot Gamora to keep her on the ship because he's like I'm only going to lose one friend today. Like he can't go through that again, and it's like you
Mm-hmm.
really see the weight of that. How it's all he's just worried that this fragile thing is gonna crumble around him, and then comparing himself to Yondu, who kind of already did this, I guess. You see hints of it, and I don't know if we get the full context before we see like the confrontation between him and the other Ravagers. But I think this is the first time we realize he's like an exiled branch of the Ravagers, and that like these other guys don't want anything to do with him because he was actually a human trafficker, and I think there's a lot of cool stuff there with like the weight of that guilt. Kind of all lands with his relationship with Peter as well. Like he almost sees Peter, it feels like as like his redemption, or his
Mm-hmm.
way back, or it's just something worth protecting because everything else is garbage around him. And obviously that comes into conflict with the people around him as well, and he kind of pushes his crewmates away, and in the benefit of Quill. But I think it's really interesting that there's a lot of parallels there. I also saw some parallels, maybe a little bit with Ego, um, where like Ego mentions it, and obviously we take it at his word, but he's like, as soon as he started feeling things for Meredith, he killed her, and it's like you're killing, like, like you can't have this because it derails you from your mission and that sort of thing. And I caught that this time around, like, oh, that you can kind of see that too, like where he killed his love for this Earth woman because it was going to screw up his mission or whatever. But like you could see Rocket kind of doing that with his crew, like pushing them away, basically, not literally killing them, but
Mm,
pushing their love to the side because he doesn't want to have his heart broken. So I thought it was all really great.
yeah. In my Doomsday challenge, by the way, I watched Volume One like a few days ago, and to do a little spoiler for Volume Three, which we will not get to in this series, but um, we in the lineup, in the prison lineup, you already see Lila in the associates mentioned together with Groot, and in hindsight, of course, with the knowledge of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, with Infinity War, with Endgame, Rocket is by far the character with the best arc, even better than four, and four is great in the show. But Rocket is by far the best character, best written character, and I salute James Gunn for planting those seeds in Volume One and letting it come to full fruition. Is that the correct word? In Volume Three, in the end, it's really amazing. And if he has really planned this and had this in mind when he started this journey, uh, heads off. I will not take my head off because then you get shining reflections and stuff like that. But heads off to James Gunn. Okay. I want to ask you all the same question before we move on to our rating. And it's about soundtrack. Soundtrack of Volume 1 or the soundtrack of Volume 2? Murph, go.
Gut Instinct Volume 1, just because I feel like I remember every song, but it might just be that I've rewatched Volume 1 so much more. At a gut reaction Volume 1.
Okay. Loki's mom?
Okay, well, remind me, Taylor, of our Merv or Grandmaster, of some of the songs in Volume One.
Well, if that's if we need to do that, then I guess it's Volume 2.
Well, yes, Volume Two and Volume One, classic hits of the '70s, '80s,
Yeah, yeah,
'60s,
correct.
'70s, and '80s. Uh, WMCU playing the same hits for 40 years.
Yeah, something like that. Taylor?
It's really tough because I actually never even thought about comparing the the soundtracks. They're both really, really good. Um, I think I might just give a very slight edge to Volume 2.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. And it's because of two basic songs that I absolutely adore. I already loved them before I saw this movie, but they were placed so well in the movie. That's Hallelujah. No, what is it called? My Sweet Lord from George Harrison.
Hmm.
When they arrive at Ego and you see those stunning visuals of Ego, and then with that song underneath it, yeah, it's just great. And Father and Son by Yusuf, or back then Cat Stevens. At the end, yeah, amazing how Groot and Quill have that father son relationship. All of a sudden, and it's yeah, I thought we're really well placed. So I think I also edge it to Volume 2 in that case. Okay, let's move on to a rating. And my expectations are high. Start with you, Lokismom.
Well, let me add real quick that regarding Ego, his love for Peter Quill's mother, yes, he did absolutely love her. Ego loves his creation. He loves everything he's created because he's ego. How can he hate it? But he's also very wrathful and with those who fail him or rebuke his power. So yeah, that's also an allusion to you know who. But let's see, my rating is going to be a 9.
Okay. Taylor?
Uh, Also, this movie has some of the most fun end credits. Not just the end credit scenes themselves, but the stuff going on during the actual credit
Yeah,
roll is
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
fantastic. And for that reason alone, 10 out of 10.
Yeah, we get our first look at Grandmaster. How can you not love this? Murph?
And more Hasselhoff.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just
that was
want to
the only. Yeah, more him.
real quick. I just want to point out that this movie has one of my absolute favorite scenes in all of the MCU, which is when Quill snaps out of it and starts
Mm.
shooting Ego.
Yeah.
At the mere mention of the fact that he killed his mom, I thought that was great character work. I thought, okay, this sets you just did, this is who Peter Quill is. He's reactionary and he will shoot you in the face if you wrong him.
Yeah,
And
but he also had to mention his Walkman.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But he got the other thing at the end. I forget what it was because it's already
The
outdated
Zoom.
technology. The Zoom. Yeah.
Everybody on Earth listens to it now.
Yeah, it's a big thing. 9 out of 10 for this movie. I thought it was great. Great sequel. Great movie. It's so much fun.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time with rating this movie because I gave the first one a 10 out of 10 because it was absolutely perfect. And for different reasons, I think this movie is also absolutely perfect. There are other reasons why I may say, you know what? Screw it. 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10.
We got him.
Yeah. That will end our discussion today. I have nothing left to do than to make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And join our forum at Saga.free forums. That we have a great conversation among the champions. There are much more champions, by the way, than the regular faces you see here. So you can get to know them as well. You just click on the link in the description. Next time, we have a homecoming spider dance or something like that. We will also continue our track with our DS9 Season 7 review. We already recorded part of it. The second part will be recorded at a later date, and then I will bring everything together. Technical issues. Next week, we will review The Odyssey, and the week after that, it's Spider-Man's turn again, but then from a brand new day. For now, I wish you all to be happy, be safe, and be well. This is Grandmaster signing off. Bye.